Okay, so in the first part of the video that we learned about what all did we do in the simulations and what did we look at in the project. So to study more about how compressible flows are modeled and how essentially we can learn more about them, we went out to this NPTEL course on the fundamentals and applications of gas dynamics. So there we looked at about compressible flows and how we can model them better. So the first thing that we learned over there was the application of the Reynolds transport theorem and how we can derive the flow equations from it. So the first flow equation was the conservation of mass of a system. So after applying the Reynolds transport theorem on the mass of a system, we end up with an equation that looks like this. Similarly, we applied the Reynolds transport theorem on the momentum of a system based on an inviscid analysis, which is generally what we consider in these types of flows regarding subsonic jet mixing. And lastly, the conservation of energy equation was also derived in the same manner. And we ended up with an equation like this that we have here. Next, we learned about the quasi-1D assumptions. These are undertaken to simplify the process of modeling compressible flows. So the first assumption is that the flow is steady with time and its properties do not change with time. So, and the next most important property is that the flow variables that we consider across every cross section of the flow have uniform values. Now, accounting for these quasi-1D assumptions in the equations that we derived earlier, and then thus we modify them. So the mass conservation equation results in an equation like this. And similarly, the momentum conservation in a quasi-1D duct with a variable area results in the Euler's equation, which after neglecting the body and dispersed forces looks like this: dV by rho plus V dV equals 0. And lastly, the conservation of energy equation also was derived after accounting for the quasi-1D assumptions we learned. Next, we learned how to model the speed of sound, rather how to measure the speed of sound according to the various processes that we consider during the flow. So the mass conservation equation results in the speed of sound being equal to minus rho into dA by d rho. And similarly, the momentum conservation equation results in the formula a square is equals to dP by d rho, where this RHS of dP by d rho is determined by the process that we are considering for the flow. So for an isothermal process, it turns out to be a square is equal to P by rho. And for an adiabatic process, which is generally and in most cases the process that we use to model our simulations, the speed of sound is considered as a square is equal to gamma RT or gamma P by rho. Next, we looked at the stagnation properties of a flow. This is the state in which the flow is brought to a complete halt, complete standstill in an isentropic process without the application of any other forces. So since there are no forces applied, therefore no work is done to achieve this stagnation conditions. So in a similar process as before we followed, again the equations that we derived were modified to come up with equations for stagnation properties of a flow. Here M is the Mach number of the flow, which is the speed of sound in the flow that we're considering versus the speed of sound in vacuum. So next, DB, over to you, Bakshi.
Yeah. So hello everyone. So next topic that we studied in the introduction of gas dynamics was sonic star properties. So basically sonic properties or star properties are somewhat synonymous. So star condition is where Mach number equals to 1 and velocity is called as the acoustic velocity and it is denoted by A star. And we also found out the relation between the pressure at any point in the flow regime. to the relation with the sonic pressure, and as well as we found out the relation between the temperature and the sonic temperature. And we introduced a new term known as the star Mach number, which is equals to the velocity ratio of the velocity at any point in the flow regime to the acoustic velocity. And we found out the relation between the star Mach number and Mach number. So basically, when Mach number reaches an infinite value, the star Mach number has a finite value, thus helping in the mathematical calculations further. So yeah, next. And another thing that we studied was the normal shock. So it's basically a flow feature occurring in supersonic flows, in which there is a jump in the pressure, temperature, density, and as well as the Mach number and the velocity. And these normal shocks travel with the supersonic speeds and are caused by sudden release of large amount of energy. So here we can see how the conditions behind the shock wave are different from that ahead of the shock wave, where pressure, temperature, and density has increased, while the velocity and Mach number has decreased. So another thing that we studied was the varying area flows, and some of the terminologies that we studied was the nozzles and diffusers. So here we can, and we also studied how nozzles and diffusers behave differently in subsonic and supersonic conditions. So here in the first figure, we can see how in the subsonic region, this is basically the nozzle, where the area decreases and the velocity at the exit is greater than that in the inlet velocity, and the pressure decreases. So in this next supersonic condition, in this also the velocity increases and the pressure decreases, but the area is increasing in this condition. So these basically are Bernoulli's equation. These satisfy the Bernoulli's equation, where the static head and the dynamic head are varies, while the potential head remains constant. So yeah, we have studied the change in behavior of duct on moving from subsonic to supersonic flows. And we also found out the area ratio relations and mass flow relation.
3.
So yeah, we studied the change in behavior of the duct on moving from subsonic to the supersonic flows, as well as we plotted the area ratio relations and the mass flow relations, and as well as we saw the effect of area change on Mach number, pressure, density, temperature, and the fluid velocity, speed of sound, and the forces involved in the flow region. So another phenomena that we studied is the choking. So it's basically where the mass flow rate at the throat does not change even after changing the stagnation pressure. So what basically happens is that when the stagnation pressure increases, the throat pressure of the nozzle is equals to the ambient pressure, and the throat velocity increases as well as the mass flow rate at the throat increases. But after reaching a limit where the throat velocity becomes equals to the acoustic velocity, when Mach number becomes equals to the 1, the throat velocity becomes equals to the constant, as well as the throat pressure becomes equals to the sonic pressure, and throat temperature also becomes equals to the sonic temperature, and the mass flow rate becomes constant. So yeah, next slide. So when mass flow rate becomes constant, so any further change in the stagnation pressure or any of the properties does not cause any change in the mass flow rate. So here in the graph, we can see this is the normalized mass flow rate, and this is the pressure gradient. On increasing the P naught, the mass flow rate, normalized mass flow rate increases, but after reaching Mach number equals to 1, there is no change, and normalized mass flow rate becomes equals to constant. So with this, we come to the end of our presentation. And thank you very much for giving your valuable time.
Thank you, everyone.